Today I want to talk to you about wall-to-air dribbles. In this video I will do three things. First, I will explain to you the steps involved in performing a wall-to-air dribble. Then I'll take you through a few examples of different wall-to-air dribbles. And lastly, I'll give you some tips on how to get better at them. Okay, first, let's take a close look at what exactly a wall-to-air dribble is. There are three steps involved in performing one. The first one is the approach. In this first step, you'll roll the ball gently up the wall. Notice I didn't say bouncing, I said rolling. The second step is the setup. In this second step, you'll hit the ball off the wall and into the air, setting it up for an air dribble. The third step is the follow-up. In this third and final step, you'll take the ball from the air and send it towards your opponent's goal. Okay, let's rewind for a second back to step 1, the approach. Remember how I said you should roll the ball up the wall, not bounce it? Here's what bouncing looks like. See how the ball comes off the wall? This is bad. You don't want this to happen. And here's rolling again. See the difference? One other thing, the angle that you roll the ball up the wall is quite important. It should be almost straight up, with a slight angle towards the opponent's goal. This is ideal anyway. And the next step, the setup. In my mind, there are three different forms the setup can take. The pop setup, the delayed pop setup, and the carry setup. Here's what the pop setup looks like. Notice how the ball pops up off the wall. This type is good for beginners and can be used to do shots, passes, and double taps. To do this one, you stop boosting just after hitting the ball, and then jump off the wall. Here's what the delayed pop setup looks like. The difference between this one and the regular pop setup is that you hit the brakes just before you leave the wall, thus creating a bit of distance between your car and the ball. This type is a bit more difficult, and it's the best one for doing flip resets. Here's what the carry setup looks like. This is the most difficult one and the fastest one, and it's good for passing and doing double taps. To do this one, you continue boosting before, during, and after hitting the ball. Also, make sure that you're touching the ball when you jump off the wall. And here's all that information on screen now. Okay, now that we understand the three steps involved and the different types of setups, let's go through the process together of actually performing a few wall-to-air dribbles. For our first one, I want something as simple as possible. Something you guys can use to practice if you're just getting into air dribbles. Well, since the approach is basically the same no matter what the rest of the air dribble looks like, we can lock that in now. Okay, the next thing we need to do is decide what kind of setup we want. Let's go with the regular pop, because I think it's the easiest and the most natural starting point. Alright, and now for our follow-up. Again, I want to keep things simple, so let's just do a straight up dribble. Okay, let's see what that looks like. Okay, for the next one, I really want to do a flip reset. So that's going to determine what setup we choose. The best choice for a flip reset, as I mentioned before, is the delayed pop setup. So we'll go with that. Alright, let's see how that plays out. And now for the last one, I want to show you guys a pure carry. This will be a carry setup and then an air dribble into the goal. Let's take a look at that. In this last part of the video, I want to give you guys some tips on how to practice and improve your wall-to-air dribbles. The first tip is that there's no easy or quick way to get better at them. You'll need to practice them for many hours, and you'll need to do the same thing over and over and over until you get the hang of it. I would recommend first practicing just the first two steps, the approach and the setup, and forget about the actual dribble. Just keep repeating these two parts until you get super comfortable with them, and then move on to trying to actually dribble the ball into the goal. You can add other follow-ups like flip resets, double taps, and all the others much later. The next tip is on the resources that you can use to practice them. I highly recommend starting with custom training. This is the custom training pack that I've used the most to practice my wall-to-air dribbles. In this training pack, the first shot is for practicing ground to air dribbles, so let's leave that one for now. I'll make a video on that in the future. The second and third shots are the ones that I've mainly used in this pack, and I highly recommend just doing them over and over until you're comfortable with them, and then you can move on to the rest of the pack. After that, of course, you can also use free play to practice them. However, this requires a bit more work unless you have a mod like Bacchus mod, link and details in description, which lets you do your approaches really easily and quickly. Otherwise, you have to spend a lot of time resetting your shot every single time you score or lose control of the ball, and it just is a bit of a waste of time. Okay, the last tip is on air rolling. So air rolling is something you'll need to get used to using if you want to successfully pull off a wall-to-air dribble. The most important time to use this is in your setup. Just as you jump off the wall, you'll want to immediately turn and face the ball. And this means air rolling to the left or right and turning slightly. So definitely practice that from the very beginning. Don't try to do your setup without using air roll. Here's what it looks like if you don't use air roll for this part. As you can see, it's a mess, and it takes a long time to get control of the ball again. For the rest of the dribble, you don't really need air roll, but it's extremely useful to make small corrections to your position and maintain control of the ball. This, however, needs quite a lot of practice in freestyling or just general aerial car control, and that's a topic I'll need to leave for another video. Alright, that's all the information I have for you guys today on wall-to-air dribbles. If you guys need any additional information or have any questions on anything I covered today or anything I didn't cover, please leave your questions down in the comment section. I read and reply to everything, and I love hearing from you all. And as always, thanks for watching, and I'll see you guys in the next video.